everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel Ray, and today is your favorite day of the week. It's Theory Tuesday!
Yay!
With Mr. Ray!
Yay!
Woo! Last week, we didn't do so well because I forgot to turn on the light, so it was very dark. So I've decided to bring some light to the equation, but just so that you know, those of you watching, it's a really dark painting. So I do have a light pad behind it. So I apologize. Here's what it looked like without. Ta-da! It's almost done. We've only got 2 more rows. Well, 1 more row after this bit. Today I'm going to be using Enablers Outposts Mystery Halloween Box pen that I got. It's got little bats in it and they sparkle. Pretty.
Yeah, I saw that earlier. It's really cool.
And then I'm using Crafts with Crashly's tray. And Enablers Outposts putty. It's called chit, which is a word that means putty. So anyway, thank you for coming back. What are we going to be talking about today? It is October.
It is October, yeah, and coming up to Samhain and all that. So I thought we could talk about the puka.
The puka!
The puka!
Oh, I'm missing that color. Hold. Okay. Sorry about that. The puka!
The puka! Yeah,
What's a puka?
Well, this is kind of the crack. Like I just thought it would be interesting because it's one of the mythological what would you say? I don't know if they're quite like they're not quite fairies like.
We did talk about this,
but they're somewhere from their realm or something like that,
Yeah.
And when I actually went and looked into it, and it's like they think that they're not part of the kind of original cycle where a lot of the stuff comes from, that they're later.
Original cycle of what? You're gonna have to
like mythology, like for like banshees and all that.
Irish mythology.
Yeah, I suppose so. But anyway, pukas with a similar name and everything like that show up all across kind of Northern Europe,
Okay.
And they show up in kind of the early Middle Ages and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess when I was a kid, we used to, like, the puka was just a word used for any ghost.
Okay.
Do you know? But I kind of knew it didn't have to do with the ghost of a person or something like that. But anyway, what it is it gets used like that, and sometimes it's used synonymously with fairies and stuff like that as well. But they're kind of from the same realm, but they're not actually the same type of thing,
Okay.
And they kind of appear in loads of different guises. I always thought that they were horses,
Horses.
Yeah, like down in the southwest, like in Kerry and Cork and Clare and places like that, the puka is a horse.
Oh.
And it takes you up in the night, like, and rides you crazy all around the countryside on its back, like.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so over time when you get a puka haunting, you're being sapped of your energy because you're not sleeping at night. It's literally the nightmare,
Yeah.
And that's the crack. But
the thing that goes nay in the night.
the thing that goes nay in the night. Yeah. And then they appear in loads of different guises. Then, like, I think up in the north, like in Antrim and around that kind of area, they appear as kind of like goblins and stuff like that. And then they can be cattle in different parts of the country, and
Are they millionaires though?
This is the crack with them. They're a bit.
Trying to bring back the cow jokes.
Oh. Riding around in limousines, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the crack anyway.
Right.
Cool. And I suppose they're just, like they're tricksters, like they're always kind of tricking you and stuff like that, or doing you favors. But the
favor has to be repaid.
No, they're not like that at all. They're they're not those kind of. There's no transactional thing, like. they'll just come upon you and they'll do you a favor or they won't, or they'll mess you around. Do you know what I mean? That kind of way. And I suppose that's kind of it. Like, there's they're big characters in kind of the mythology and stuff, and the only day when a puka has to do you a favor is November the 1st. So the day after Samhain is like Puca's day.
I actually heard someone say that November 1st is Samhain as well.
Yeah, it's I mean it's a
I don't know.
It's a festival that goes on over that period or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Cool. I suppose that's it. Do you remember some of the ways that you could, or some of the tips for avoiding fairy issues in your life?
Well, whatever you do, don't go near a fairy circle.
Yeah.
Don't step into it. Or fall asleep in it.
Definitely don't fall asleep in it.
Bad idea.
Yes.
It looks comfy.
But don't.
Don't do it.
Don't.
What else? Was there voices? Do you remember?
No,
voices? I don't think so.
the big ones are metal, like iron. They can't cross iron, you know.
No.
So you would put a horseshoe above your doors and stuff like that,
Right.
and they won't be able to get in through the threshold.
Yeah.
Or you can use, quite often in the stories about fairies, they use a fire poker, you know, or a tongs.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, with the pukas, it's the same story, except what you want is spurs, iron spurs. And when the puka throws you up on its back to take you off across the countryside in the night, you use the spurs to control the puka. Yes. And then there's a story about Brian Boru, who is like the legendary King of Ireland, you know?
Yeah.
And he was supposed to have been bothered by a puka. And he got the spurs.
He was a victim of a puka bothering.
He was a puka bothered, yeah, he was puka bothered. And so he got a set of spurs anyway, and he managed to control the puka. And then he made the puka promise to not disturb any Irish person that is going about their business in an honest and forthright way. Which I thought was interesting. So you can only be taken up by the puka if you're up to no good, or if you've been drinking, or do you know, that kind of thing?
Huh.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brian.
So that's the story. And then I found just to get onto kind of stories about the puka and stuff like that, I found in the National Folklore Archive a story by a kid.
A kid?
Yeah, by a child, like by a 14-year-old child in like 1938.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, do you know it's this National Folklore Archive?
Oh, we're gonna have to link that.
Have I told you about that before? It's
it's
an amazing yoke, like it's.
Yeah.
So back in the 30s, they used to send people around to folklorists, like, and they would give kids in primary schools the job of going home, talking to their grandparents and their parents, and writing down local stories.
And that is where all the wild stories come from.
And that's it's just very it's just really interesting, because like I said this before, is like, even when I was a kid was just when the age of the fairies being a thing to be concerned about was dying off, like, you know. And like I've heard stories of like children being dressed as a male child being dressed as a girl until they're the age of 3, because that's when the fairies would be most interested in. They didn't want girl children, you know.
Huh.
Yeah, stuff like that anyway. But do you know, they were a real thing? And I guess like back then in the 30s, they would have been a real thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about how, you know, it would have been more difficult for the average person to get their voices out there. You know, now we have all these platforms where everybody can share their opinions and their food.
Yeah, I mean, that, I guess
that would have been really cool for those people during that time to share that.
What do you mean?
Like oral tradition.
Yeah.
Because each family would have had a version. Well, maybe not every family, but you know what I mean. Like different
Yeah.
regional areas would have had different takes on
Oh,
certain
definitely, yeah.
things.
And you would have got like a creative storyteller in one area and change it up and,
Yeah.
put their own spin on it and
I
stuff
mean,
like that.
Grandpa from Kildare might have
Yeah.
gone away with the taken the story a little too far and made it very extravagant as well.
Yeah. I mean,
Could have been
that's
fun.
that's quite a common thing, I think,
Yeah.
But the story anyway is I won't actually read it, but I'll tell you because I picked this because it's so kind of it's such a standard story,
Okay.
And the standard story is this guy is coming to work every day. This is what happens here. This guy is coming to work every day and he's tireder and tireder,
Mm-hmm.
And this other guy on the site says, like, wherever he's working, says, "Are you all right, like?" And he says, "I don't know." He goes, like, "I'm having these crazy dreams where I'm getting, do you know what I mean? I just, like, I'm coming in the door of the house and next thing you know, I'm up in the back of this wild beast and I'm being, like, taken for this crazy, ride all through the countryside and blah, blah, blah and all this." And your man says, "And, like, does it kind of feel like a dream, but actually, if you think back, you were just walking in your door?" And he goes, "Actually, it does." And he goes, "You've got a puka, mate," So he gives him a set of spurs, and he says, "Put these on you, and the next time you feel yourself being pulled up onto the back of something, just, use the spurs like you would on a horse."
Dig 'em in.
Yeah, and that's what happens. And then, but that night, they still go riding through the countryside, but he can kind of control the puka,
Okay.
Wakes up in the morning, he's all exhausted. That night, the puka approaches him slowly and goes, "What's going on? Do you still have those iron things?" And he says, I do still have the iron things." And he goes, "Well, take them off there and we'll go out for the night." He goes, "I'm not taking them off, like." And then the puka goes, "All right, fair enough," and just walks off, and that's it. And that's your classic puka story, like.
It's nice that he's just like, fine.
There's like literally so many stories.
You don't want to have a good time? Fine.
And
I'll go find someone else.
Yeah. And that's, like, I'd say that's about 80% of puka stories. And then there's puka stories then when the puka does you a favor,
Yeah.
And there's one story that was written down by Jane Francesca Agnes Wilde.
Wow.
Yep.
Related?
Related to who?
Oscar?
Oh yeah, it's Oscar Wilde's mom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's Oscar Wilde's mom.
Okay.
She wrote a huge book of Irish folklore there in kind of like the middle of the 19th century,
Mm-hmm.
And so the story here is there's this farmer in the Midlands, and his name is Padraig. And he's out one day and he's working in the field.
Okay.
And he feels this gust of wind as something passes him,
Mm-hmm.
And he looks around and he can't see anything. And then he remembers this could be the puka, So he takes his jacket off and says, "Puka, puka, show your face to me and you can have this jacket to warm yourself." And then this bull, this big black bull, appears behind him.
Okay.
And walks up to him and goes, "Oh, that is a really nice jacket, isn't it?" And he goes, "Yeah, and you can have it to keep yourself warm, and thank you for coming and visiting me." And the puka says, "Well, you're very, very nice. And if you go up to that old mill, the unused mill on your property, I think you'll get a nice surprise tonight." So he goes up to the mill, and the mill, which had previously been abandoned, has bags of corn in it and wheat.
Nice.
And he hears some rustlings outside,
Mm-hmm.
And he runs over and jumps into a basket, and he's hiding in the basket, looking out through the weave,
Yeah.
And sure in come a load of pukas, like, in all different forms and shapes, like, and they just pick up that wheat and corn and start milling it, And he watches them for hours, like just fascinated. Like the puka that he remembers, the big bull as well, arrives and starts walking up and down, giving orders and kind of doing management stuff. You know, he's got a clipboard and he's gonna have to write you up.
Does he have a briefcase?
Yeah, he's really more of a hands-on guy. Like he's writing you up for not getting back from the toilet soon enough. Like 15 minutes. What were you doing in there, Jones? You know. So this goes on night after night after night, you know?
Yeah.
And every night he goes down and there are stacks of milled flour and corn. And he puts them in the back of his, his cart, like, and he brings them down to the market and he sells them.
Yeah.
And this goes on night after night after night. He stopped going after a week or two, you know?
Yeah.
And this is years of this happening. And he just rocks up and he's, like every night he shows up and there's wheat and corn to sell, you know. And
that's an easy life.
Yeah, and he becomes kind of rich off it, you know. And then he basically thinks, look, this puka's after giving me a load, like, you know. I got to get him something. So he goes and he gets a really fine suit of clothes made for the puka.
Okay.
Now he's got used to the finer things in life.
Yeah.
You know, he's got servants. He's built a new house, like, you know. He's buying land and renting it out, like this is all on the back of that. His son, also in the story called Podrick, it makes it confusing in places. His son he's gone way above anything he ever wanted for him, you know. Like the son's getting educated. He's not a farmer anymore. He's going off. He's going to, you know, going to university and that, what have you, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a big success. Anyway, he buys a set of clothes and he brings it down to the mill and he leaves it for the puka. And he hides in the basket. And it's the first time in years that he's been there, you know?
Yeah.
Like he stopped paying attention. He just rock up and take it, like, you know? And the puka comes up and all of his little minions come in and they start working away on the corn, you know? And one day, then as he's walking up and down giving orders, like, he looks over and he sees the suit of clothes. And he goes over and he picks them up and he's like, well, my, you know? Look at this. And the puka puts on the suit of clothes, you know? And he's walking up and down in his fine three-piece suit.
Yeah.
And he kicks his old clothes into the corner of the room. And he says, fine gentleman am I, like, I don't need to work in any mill anymore. This is too good for the likes of me. And the puka goes off. And that's the last wheat or corn or anything that they get out of the mill. Puka's gone.
Puka's gone.
Doesn't come back.
Yeah.
Doesn't return.
Yeah.
Years later, young Podrick is getting married, you know? And he stands up to make a toast. And when he raises his glass, it's not the glass that he started with. It's this gold chalice.
Ooh.
And it's filled with wine. And he knows it's from the puka. So he takes a sip of it from the glass, like, and then he gives it to his wife, and she takes a sip of it.
Oh no.
And they had a wonderful, wonderful life. That's genuinely how the story ends.
Really?
Yeah, and they still have that cup.
I was expecting Red Wedding.
And they still have that cup to this day. No, I mean they don't end how you they don't end how you
I've been
expect.
scarred.
Yeah, and that's the story with that.
Nice.
Yeah. They're kind of strange stories, aren't they? They're like a lot of, you know, when you read the raw folklore stuff, like a lot of it doesn't end like a story now would end.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
No, it's much happier.
Yeah.
What happened?
That's unusual for Ireland as well.
Yeah. Yeah, Irish stories
Yeah.
tend to be a bit maudlin.
Not as happy as you think.
Or people turn into animals. Fish.
Yeah, that happens a lot, yeah. That's it. No?
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then I have one other puka story as well, if you want to hear that.
Sure. Yeah. I'm going to open a new section. Let me just make sure that I'm aligned. I am. Okay. So I'm going to use my new thing. Have you ever seen one of these?
What is that?
This came in my mystery box. It's called a ceramic pen cutter.
Get out.
that
Cuts, it's ceramic.
is a ceramic blade.
That is cool.
When I first opened it, I nearly went like this.
Oh, that's cool.
It cuts through like if you have plastic cover, it'll cut through tape or whatever, but it won't cut through the canvas material. Which is really brilliant because that's the problem with X-Acto knives, is that it'll like cut right through.
Yeah. And why is that? Is because it's ceramic?
I think it's just because it's really small. Look how tiny it is.
Oh yeah, it's designed for it like a...
It's like not meant to cut very deep.
Yeah.
So yeah. I had an accident where I put the wrong symbol on the wrong color on the wrong symbol.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wanted to spread it out. Anyway.
Have you, so you're just...
I'm going to try to find one of these on Amazon so that y'all can get them if you don't have one already. Because that's really cool.
That is so cool, yeah.
I've been diamond painting since 2018 and never got one of them. This is going to be mostly one color. Hello, color blocking.
Yeah. So that's it. Do you want to do the last story?
Yes.
Do you want to do where we read the bits?
Yeah, that was the plan.
All right.
Apparently we're going to do a play.
We're going to do, yeah.
I'm going to try.
This is a story by Douglas Hyde. And Douglas Hyde was the first president of Ireland in 1938. There you go. But yeah, he was also kind of like a folklorist, I guess, and stuff like that, you know. And he would have, he would have written down or translated books from Irish rather. A lot of this kind of folklore and stuff like that. So I suppose, will I start? Do you want to?
Can you, give the backstory or like the?
Yeah, I guess this is.
Ease us into it.
Yeah, let's ease into it. This is again just a kind of classic story. It's got a lot of elements that you'll see in a lot of Irish stories. You know, it involves a piper. You know, which are quite kind of prevalent in Irish kind of folklores and stuff.
Piper's thing, was it just a musician or was it like a crier?
Yeah, they're a musician, yeah. But they would have been drawing on older traditions where you would have had kind of like these bard characters, you know, and they would have kind of written stories and stuff like that, and there was a lot of like cultural cachet apparently by having these guys employed, you know. And they'd write about how great you are.
Yeah.
And it's easy to spread it around, and also it's like, look, that guy is doing well. He's got like 2 of these guys on payroll. You know?
Oh, so it is like The Witcher with Jaskier.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. Yeah, okay. And it was a real thing. So from there, I think pipers come up, and then there's like stuff about, there's a huge legend of the blind piper and stuff like that. You know. They're just kind of symbolic and of kind of an artisan class, I think, and there's often a link as well between the realms of men and the she, where pipes or musical instruments, often harps as well, are involved, you know, where they can break down the barrier between them or something like that.
Ooh.
Yeah. But the piper that's involved in this story, he's not a good piper.
Oh, we'll get into that. Don't tell the story before it.
Well, he actually only knows one song. That's part of the point of the story as well.
Oh.
And he only knows this one song called like The Black Rogue.
He's a poor piper. He
is a poor piper in more ways than one. His technique is poor, and also he broke. So yeah, this piper is coming home from one night from piping, you know. And just to give you an idea, like, he goes down and he does a bit of piping and people throw him a few quid, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a busking deal. But everybody just does it because they're half taking the pee out of him, you know what I mean?
You can say words, it's fine.
Can I? Alright, so they're, they're like, they're taking the piss out of him. Like, they're, look at this guy.
Yeah.
Play that song, you know the one. The one song, you know.
Go on.
So that's the story anyway, you know.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's it. And then one night, it's a particularly busy night for him because there's a dance down in the local house, you know?
Yep.
And he's down there till the early hours of the morning and he's firing off. Oh, God.
Every time somebody has a birthday.
He did the Black Rogue, and then afterwards, he did the Black Rogue, and then he played the Black Rogue, and then, oh man, they were screaming out for an encore, so he came on and absolutely blasted the Black Rogue. It was crazy. Right. Crazy piping. And, yeah, so that's the crack. And then he's coming home in the early hours of the morning, heading back, lives with his mom, and that's when the puka comes and takes him.
Right.
Do you want to do the bit?
Yeah, I think you got to start with the bit at the beginning, right?
That's the bit at the beginning. I just did that.
Oh, so now I just
do the red thing. Yeah.
No, but there's a bit before that.
Huh?
The puka came behind him and flung him up on his leg.
Yeah, that's the way it happens. Remember, he's walking down the road, he's taking both sides of the road because he's had a couple of drinks, and then next thing you know, he feels this whoosh, and the puka comes up behind him and throws him up, just head between his legs, and next thing you know, he's on a horse's back, like, and they're riding off through the night, you know?
And then I just come in, is it?
Huh? Yeah.
No, I'm green, is it?
No, you're red.
Oh, okay, so I'm the dude.
Yeah.
Destruction on you, you nasty beast. Let me home. I have a 10-penny piece in my pocket for my mother. She wants snuff.
Never mind your mother, but keep a hold or you'll fall and break your neck and your pipes.
Ooh.
Play up for me. Play the Shan Van Vocht.
I don't know it.
Shan Van Vocht is like
no,
the
that's
old
literally
poor...
what it says.
Oh, right. He definitely doesn't know it.
I don't know it.
Well, never mind whether you do or you don't, but play up and I'll make you know it.
Upon my word, you are a fine music master, but tell me where you're for bringing me.
Yeah, so
English is weird.
Oh, there's like this story gets weird. So yeah, so you go to play the Black Rogue and out comes the Shan Van Vocht. And because I'm after making you do it.
Okay.
We really should have had a run through here. I shouldn't have sprung this on you.
Well, it's also, yeah. Go on.
So where am I bringing you? Well, I'm bringing you to the top. I'm bringing you to the feast at the House of the Banshee at the top of Croagh Patrick tonight. And I'll bring you there to play music, and take my word, you'll get the price of your troubles.
By my word, you'll save me a journey then. For Father William put a journey to Croagh Patrick on me, because I stole the white gander from him last time. The what now?
You stole his white gander.
What is a white gander?
Well,
please.
Father William's white gander is exactly what you think. It's a type of goose.
Oh no, that is not what I was thinking.
All right, you were thinking the piper was in grabbing him by the gander, is it?
No.
Father Willie.
No. Oh God. Made it way worse.
So Father William, he stole the gander, and Father William has like at some time to make atonement. You have to go to Croagh Patrick.
Where's my honk sound?
Yeah.
No. Last Martinmas.
Last Martinmas, yeah. It's the Feast of St. Martin, I presume. So the puka takes them off across the countryside, you know?
Yeah.
And over hills and down into forests and crazy speed, things whizzing by. And next thing you know, ploughing up the top of Croagh Patrick.
Yeah.
Which is a famous pilgrimage site in Ireland. And they get up to the top of Croagh Patrick, and the puka puts out his hoof and goes 3 times, and the side of the mountain opens up.
Weird.
Yeah. And they walk in, and there's a big long table in the House of the Banshee.
Inside the mountain.
Yeah. And there's hundreds of old women, and they're all just sitting at this table. They're eating on turkey legs, they're drinking wine, they're just having a right old knees up, you know, a real good time, like. Just having the crack, you know?
Yeah.
And
That's what I would want to be doing.
And the old lady comes up and she goes, 100,000 welcomes to you, Puca of November. Sorry, Puca of November, which of course is the Irish month of Samhain.
Right.
So, 100,000 welcomes to you, Puca of Samhain. Who's this you've brought? And the Puca goes, "'Tis the best piper in Ireland." So the woman goes, "Jolly good, yeah?"
Yeah.
And she gets out her staff and she gives it a bang on the floor, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And the side of the wall opens up and out comes a white gander.
A goose.
A male goose, yeah. Out comes a gander and he walks over and he starts setting the table. Do you know?
A goose setting the table.
Yeah, he comes
All
out and there's hundreds of banshees sitting around and he's putting the plates and the cutlery on the table and stuff. And the piper looks at him and goes,
Very well behaved goose.
"I think that's the white gander." Oh, this is actually, you're up here.
Oh. By my conscience, then, myself and my mother ate every taste of that gander. Only one wing, and I gave that to Moirua. And she's told the priest I stole his gander.
Yeah. So this is Moirua, Red Mary. So he ate all the goose. He got the priest gander and he ate the priest gander, right?
Okay.
Then he's got a wing and he gives that to Moirua. And then she goes and
he made a sacrifice.
she snitches him up to the priest, to Father William.
Mm.
Hey, the piper's got your gander. Do you know?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's the story. He goes to the Puca anyway with this, going, "I swear that's the thing." And the Puca says, "Don't mind that gander, like, only play some music there, will you?" You know? And he starts playing the pipes, like, and he does not know any of this music.
No,
Like,
it's just like
he's just got the
coming out of
pipes
him.
on. He starts pumping them with his elbow, and the stuff coming out is crazy. Like
It's like house.
he's like, to say he's played like he's never played before. He's only ever played one song, and he plays for hours. And the banshees, they're dancing around the place, you know.
Yeah.
And they're all you know, and it's kicking off in there, you know.
Yeah.
And as each one of these banshees dances and spins past him, they drop a gold coin into his hat.
Mm.
And by the end of the night, he has hundreds of gold coins in this hat.
Mm.
He actually had to empty it into a bag twice. And then he had to get another bag to put that into because there was so much gold, you know?
Yeah.
So he's got all this gold. And that's the crack. And then he says, it's on the next page there now.
By the tooth of Patrick, I'm as rich as the son of a lord.
And then the Puca goes, "Come with me and I'll bring you home." So they go out and he jumps up on the Puca's back, you know?
Yeah.
And the Puca goes off into the night, straight like that. And the trees are flying by them. They're down the mountain. They're through the forest. They're over the... Do you know what I mean? It's just a crazy ride. And then... and they stop just like that. And he jumps off the Puca.
Mm-hmm.
And it's right at the start of the bridge. You know?
Mm-hmm.
That the Puca picked him up at.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, Puca, thanks very much." And the Puca goes, "You've two things now. You've music, and I hope you have a bit of sense." And off he goes. The Puca's gone, you know?
Okay.
So then your man goes in. Do you want to do the rest of it just for the...
Yeah.
So then he goes in and he goes to the door of his mom's place and he knocks on the door and he says,
Let me in. I'm as rich as a lord and I'm the best piper in Ireland.
"Oh, you're drunk."
No, indeed. I haven't drunk a drop.
And the mother lets him in and he says,
Here. Wait now till you hear the music.
yeah.
I'll play.
And and the mom's like, no, you're drunk. And he's like, "No, I'm going to play you a tune. It's amazing. I played it for the banshees up the mountain." And he straps on the pipes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he starts pumping with the elbow. And he starts playing. And out comes the sound of the gander.
Not a squeezy gander.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So that's the story. Out comes the sound of the gander out of the pipes, you know?
Yeah.
And he's playing and he's playing and he's playing and it's not working out for him.
Yeah.
And
Because
then
it sounds like a goose.
Okay.
It sounds like a goose?
I actually have messed up the story. I forgot to mention that the banshee, when he was leaving, gave him a set of pipes.
Oh.
A fine, beautiful, golden set of pipes, you know?
Oh.
And he got home and then that's it. He straps on the golden pipes and all that comes out of the golden pipes is the sound of the gander. You know? And he keeps playing and then his mom is like, look, Piper, I'm sick of this. You need to just go to bed, man. Do you know?
Yeah.
So off he goes to bed. And he wakes up in the morning and he's like, this is wrong. You know? Am I the Piper that picked the priest's gander? Am I that Piper? Do I want to be the Piper that picked the priest's gander? So down to the presbytery to unpick the priest's gander. Oh, wait.
Unpick it.
So he goes down to the presbytery and he meets with the priest.
Yeah.
And the priest's like, what are you doing here? And
Pick your
he tells him the story, you know?
Okay.
He tells him the story and he says, look, I got taken up by the puka last night and I went to a party and there was 100 banshees and they gave me a load of gold and your gander was there and he was alive and he was setting the table, you know? And the priest said, you're a thief and you still have to go to Crow Patrick and do your penance. You know? Get out of my sight.
Don't make me back there.
And then he says, no, wait, I can prove one part of my story. I don't have the gander and I don't have etc., you know?
Yeah.
And he straps on his old set of pipes. And he starts absolutely jamming out that uilleann. Like he's jamming pipe, man. And that's the crack. From then on, he became the best piper in all of Galway and he made his fortune.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks, Puca.
And that's it. That's your other Puca story then.
Wow. Well, thank you, James.
No problem.
Now I'm wondering why I shouldn't have. I really feel like I should have gotten the gander. There was one in town the other day. And I looked at it. I drove past it. There were 2 of them.
Absolutely don't.
But there were 2 of them, and I was like, wouldn't that be nice for
Are they
Christmas
not
now?
like?
Wouldn't that be nice for Christmas now?
Do you not? Oh, gee.
What if it gave us the power to play whatever songs we
But
want?
but like geese are famously bad-tempered. And,
so is our dog.
And they like to be in flocks, like they, you know, you're not.
We have hens.
Yeah, but I think looking after geese is different, isn't it?
Probably.
I mean, I'm cool.
Any farmer people out there?
It definitely is.
Back me up.
It definitely is.
No, it's too much work. Fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I don't think I'd be able to take care of them I'm fine with the. We're fine with the chickens.
I just meant Christmas goose.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can go and buy one. I mean, were you planning on? Were you planning?
I was just about to say yeah, and I almost did, but then I.
Is that what the plan
and then
was?
I understood.
That you were going to catch and rear and butcher your own.
Well,
goose?
if I get caught by a puka tonight,
yeah,
I might just have to take him up on that.
Well, this is part of it. Like the only way to prevent getting caught by puka is to be wearing spurs at all times. Iron spurs. All times.
At all times. Well, then it just means that you're pretty much guaranteed.
It's such a great, like, to just walk around like a cowboy, isn't it?
I wouldn't know.
It's like someone trying to give you hassle and you're like, well, look, if you want to risk your life with the puka, that's
I know
fine.
what I'm getting you for Christmas then.
Spurs, yeah.
Yeah.
Iron ones.
Yeah. For your sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another mattress, because you're not sleeping on that mattress.
I think I would, once I was inside and there was like a horseshoe above each doorway, I would feel safe taking the spur. I wouldn't be wearing the spurs in bed, like. Do you know?
Well, that's a relief.
Yeah. But anytime I'm outside the door, like,
Right.
I would have to have them on.
There is a horseshoe outside.
Is there really?
Yeah.
Where?
I haven't seen it.
No,
It's over in the corner by where you do the compost. Hanging up on the wall.
Oh, yeah, there is, yeah.
We could get another one. How close does the horseshoe need to be to you for it to work, though?
It protects the doorway. You hang it over the doorway, and it's.
Do we need to put it over both doors?
Yeah, you would, yeah. I mean, it's because it's just that the iron. I mean, there's a lot of versions of the story where people use, like I said, tongs or a poker or something from the fire that's made of iron.
Yeah.
It's iron that keeps them out. But there's I forgot to mention that as well. Like in a lot of the Puca stories, bridges are a major feature. Like things will happen at the start of a bridge. I don't know. It's just it's a very common.
So they're like trolls.
They're more like
The original troll.
They're almost more like an Anansi character or something like that.
And a who?
Or maybe like a Loki kind of character, or
Oh, a Loki.
The fox or something. They're supernatural beings. They're not particularly like, even when they're malevolent, they're more mischievous. Do you know what I mean?
Right. They don't want to see you in pain necessarily. They just want to have a laugh.
Yeah, they'll whether you get good or bad fortune out of them is up for grabs, and then typically you might do something out of the way to them or something like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I mean the guy in the mill. What did he do? That Lady Wilde wrote. He bought him a really swish set of clothes, like.
Yeah.
And then the Puca's like, well, I thought that was interesting as well, because the Puca's like, oh, I'm too good for this now, getting out of here.
Well, I guess he didn't want to go to all the trouble of having to sell it himself. Like.
Yeah.
There is that. Right.
Yeah.
Is that everything?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, thank you very much for sharing all of that with us today.
No problem.
Will we be reconvening soon for more spooky stories?
I suppose so, yeah. I'll try and do, because it's October and we're going up to Samhain, I will try and do a different
Did we
Irish.
look into Loftus as well?
We looked into that before.
Did we book it?
Oh, in Limerick, is it?
Yeah.
No.
Well, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
Right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Theory Tuesday. Thank you so much, Mr. Ray.
No problem. Thank you.
And we will see you all very soon. Take care and stay safe, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.